Hi, my name is Ella, and guess what time it is? It's cookie time! This year, I'm planning on selling 200 boxes or more. Please help supporting my troop by buying 1 boxes or maybe even 2 if you want to. My troop is planning on going on an exciting trip and helping my community. Please help support me by buying 1 box or more. Bye!
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for January 29th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy Hump Day to everyone out there. Let's get into some housekeeping notes before we get started. Be sure to buy the Girl Scout cookies, as you heard Ella say. All of the information is in the description. Again, you're going to buy them anyway, or you probably bought them and need more. Why not support Ella? Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. Let's continue to grow this thing as we try to outsmart the algorithms. Subscribe to our friends over at the On Pattison newsletter, delivered right to your inbox every day. Great coverage, especially with this Super Bowl run we are on, and we're featured in there a couple days a week too. So go ahead, check them out, and subscribe to them. All right, well, not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do today. Not going to do it. However, Sixers now have won 3 in a row. Beat the Lakers last night, 118-104. No Paul George, no Joe, no Andre Drummond. I don't even know who else played. I was dozing on and off watching this game. Tyrese Maxey, 43, though. And that's 3 in a row. And I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it today. Not going to do it. I know it's tempting. It's tempting. But they are kind of learning how to play without those guys and the whole gelling and everything like that. But I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it yet. Keyword there, yet. However, there are a ton of rumors circulating that the Sixers are quietly inquiring about Jimmy Butler. However, the only way that would work is if you did a swap with Paul George. Don't know if the Heat want that. Sixers really don't have draft picks or young guys to even make that work. Management, I did read an article. I don't know. It was from a Sixers blog, so I don't know how credible the source is, but said that management did inform Paul George that they would not be trading him during the first year of the contract, which absolutely means nothing. We've seen it all the time in all sports, especially with this team. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know necessarily if Jimmy Butler long-term makes this team any better. But Paul George certainly has not been good. I think so far this year, the biggest thing he did and is known for is getting stuck in traffic during the Eagle celebration the other night. So, I certainly would kick the tires and see. The Sixers do have a chance to do something extremely funny if they really are going to give up on this season. Ben Simmons recently has been waxing poetic about his time in Philly, how he didn't appreciate the fans as much as he should have. They could bring back and run back that 2018 team that lost to the Hawks. I'm not saying I want Ben Simmons back. I'm just saying they could do something very, very funny here. But I'm not doing it. I'm not going to get fooled again yet anyway with Lucy, the Crazy X, all that stuff. Not going to do it yet, but good win for the Sixers. That's 3 in a row. They're in action tonight against the Kings. No word on if anybody's playing. I'm pretty sure Joe is out for this game, though. However, I did see clips of him doing handstands the other day at practice, so something's off down there. So that's why if they're telling Paul George they're not going to trade him, I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Paul, if I were you, I would not believe it either. But Sixers beat the Lakers. Anthony Davis did go out with an injury, but Ricky Council IV was on fire yesterday. Shaq didn't even know who he was. He was like, this guy, I don't even know. is dominating them, which Shaq is just great. But we'll see what happens. 3 in a row. I'm not doing it. I'm digging my heels in as much as I want to be back on. I just cannot do it yet. So we'll see what happens tonight versus the Kings. Might be having a different conversation tomorrow, but you know how it goes with me and the Sixers anyway. All right, Flyers in action tonight up in New Jersey. Have a chance to give Josh Harris's team their third loss to a Philly team in a week, which would be great. God, I hate that guy. But Flyers Devils tonight up in North Jersey, looking to continue their streak, or get a streak going, I should say, after beating the Devils earlier in the week. Be sure to check out my friends over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Great things happening with their Sports Fan Network. That is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And then Philly Goat. Time is running out. You can still order stuff and get it delivered in time for the Super Bowl, but I believe today is the last day. So go check it out. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Get any of their Saquon Barkley shirts, all kinds of new NFC Championship gear out. You name it, they got it. Hats, hoodies, tees. They even got the shoes. Whatever you got to do, go there now. Make sure it's there in time for the Super Bowl and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. I'm telling you, the stuff they have is second to none. So go there, use the promo code, and get it in time for the Super Bowl. All right, let's get into the Eagles and start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, do you think the officials are going to play a role in the Super Bowl? 73% of you said yes. Hard to argue that, but I really do think, to me, it comes down to this. You've been dominating teams all year, and truthfully, the Eagles have benefited from some calls themselves this year. I think if we're kind of looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, you could really look at it and say maybe the Eagles might benefit more from the calls because there's been so much drama going on with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs getting calls, this, that, and the other, that maybe the NFL goes and does it the opposite way and does a 180. But I think the best way to combat that is just outplay the Chiefs, dominate them, out-physical them, which we are the most physical team in the league, and just make the officials a non-factor. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. A lot of people talking about the last Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl with the holding call that was called on James Bradbury, which, yes, it was a hold. A lot of people still claiming, I don't know if you should call that there, but by the way it's written in the rule book, that was a hold. But the jerseys were announced. So the Chiefs are wearing the white, Eagles are wearing the green. Looking back at that replay yesterday, they were wearing green gloves. You want to kind of do that, hide from that a little bit? Wear white gloves on the Super Bowl. Don't wear the green gloves, and don't make it so obvious that your hand's on there. Just a little bit of gamesmanship. But more on the jerseys, which it's kind of one of those weird stats. But in the past 20 years, 16 teams wearing white jerseys have won the Super Bowl. In the last 10, the only teams to not win the Super Bowl wearing white jerseys, the Eagles and the Chiefs. How's that? So the Eagles have always worn midnight green in the Super Bowl. I don't put too much stock in that. I don't know if there is an advantage, disadvantage. But like I said, wear the white gloves. And the Eagles have already won in the green jerseys. So it's not as if like they're breaking a trend that has never happened before. And truthfully, this year, all year, whether it was going out to Cincinnati, whether it was the long winning streak, they've been breaking trends all year. So why not do it in the Super Bowl? Break the trend of the three-peat. But I don't know. I would love, and I know the NFL will never do it, but I would have loved to have seen the Kelly Green in the Super Bowl. I did have a chance to rewatch this game yesterday, kind of on the real fast, like quick fast forward through it and rewatch. But I guess more takeaways was just how dominant they were in the second half, both on defense and offense. and how they responded every time they needed to. After Jaden Daniels scored the touchdown to cut the lead to 21, they came right back and scored. Jalen was good with his throwaways. The line just as banged up as they were, just kind of tough through. Just very impressed rewatching it, just how dominant the Eagles actually were in that game, with the exception of one thing. And I think going into the Super Bowl, this is going to be something that needs to be cleaned up. And that's the middle of the field. Zach Ertz had himself a day. Now, I don't know if that was more of a game flow thing where they were playing kind of like a softer zone there when they got the lead, and that left the middle wide open. I don't know if Jaden was just taking what the Eagles were giving them, if the Eagles were giving them that. I don't know. It could be a problem with Travis Kelce, but it's something to watch, that middle of the field. I tend to think it was more of a game flow thing because, obviously Travis Kelce is going to get his. We look at the Super Bowl the Eagles won. Rob Gronkowski got his. But Zach Ertz went off, and that could be an issue when you have somebody like Travis Kelce. So that was one of the negative takeaways I had from rewatching. But all in all, I was very impressed with the physicality, and it was fun rewatching it and seeing all of those things. But we still got some days before the game starts, but that's all right. We'll start looking ahead. The other big story was Tailgate Ted, the guy from the Washington leader that took over the Hard Rock, which there's a lot of people in Philly that didn't even realize there was a Hard Rock. Been there a couple times, not anytime recently, but hey, if you want to take over the Hard Rock, I think they kind of gave it over sort of willingly. But this is a cool story that probably will not get much airtime on the national media because it goes against the narrative of the negative Philly fans and that we're scumbags and this and that. But the Buffalo Bill fans do this all the time, and all they do is talk about how great it is. But there is a fundraiser on a GoFundMe that this dude, Tailgate Ted, has set up to benefit, I guess, either one of his buddies, or I don't know if he's part of like a commander's crew or whatnot, but passed away of lung cancer, and all the proceeds benefit longevity. And truthfully, Eagles fans have shown out. Like a couple $1,000s already have been donated. The messages, though, are great. So if you get a chance, look it up and donate if you can. Obviously, it's something that with my mother-in-law, the whole lung cancer thing, it's an important charity for us. But pretty cool move by Eagles fans. Pretty classy. Of course, they did it. They're doing it in a Philly way, giving him messages. Basically like, hey, cancer sucks, so do the Commanders, but cancer sucks worse, so here's some money. And just different things like that. So go check it out. It's actually, like I said, you're not going to see this on the national media because it doesn't fit their narrative. But kudos and shout out to Eagles fans for really taking over this dude's fundraiser and really raising money for some good cause while having a little bit of fun at Tailgate Ted's expense anyway. But again, that's just who we are. You see the scumbags, and yes, there are scumbags in our fan base, like on those social media clips and the dude from the Packers and all that. We have some scumbags among us, but everybody has some scumbags. But deep down, we're not bad people, and I think this is 100% a show of class from Eagles fans that won't get any national play. But I wanted to make sure you guys knew about it so you can at least check it out if you haven't already and possibly even make a donation to a good cause, good charity. Because at the end of the day, it's sports. It's all fun. But if something good is going to come out of the Commanders getting beat down, why not? The other big story is I'm seeing a lot of people, and not really nationally, a lot of people, just the talking people on Twitter, talking about how Brandon Graham is being selfish and taking someone's spot. And I believe this was a Giants fan that was saying this. But if he comes back to play in the Super Bowl, he's taking somebody's spot. And I disagree. dude was a starter. I think he would be able to provide you some depth. I don't know how much he's going to be able to play, how much game shape he's going to be able to get in. I don't know what his workout and cardio and things like that have been since he's gotten hurt. However, you don't think that's going to be an emotional boost to this team, just having him suit up, and even if he plays for one play? So I'm all about BG coming out. And again, I'm not expecting him to play the way he was playing before he got hurt, but I think an emotional boost is going to be had if he does play. No word really on Kellen Moore. I did see this morning that Mike McCarthy is setting out this round of coaching hires, looking forward to next year, which I don't know if that means Kellen Moore is the favorite for the Saints job now. It's just the irony that it's in New Orleans and that's where the Eagles are playing in the Super Bowl. So we'll have to see how that plays out this week. But the interview's already done. Nick Sirianni has said a lot of the game plan is already in place. So they're just kind of working out details and tweaking and everything like that. So we'll see how it goes. And I like the fact that whether it's true or not, the fact that he said that the game plan is pretty much kind of in place. I don't know how much of a distraction this is going to be. And then finally, this does lead us into the question of the day. Just a random, have some fun with this. But seeing a lot of ads and people going out and shopping for gear. Are you buying NFC Champions merchandise? And I have a theory on this, and I'll share it in a minute. But are you going out and buying a NFC Champions shirt or an NFC Champions hat, hoodie, whatever? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let's have a little bit of fun with this on a Wednesday. Personally, I've done this twice, and both times it didn't end good or end well. I did buy a 2009 National League Championship hat, and we all know what happened in the 2009 World Series. I did also, you guys know, I make it very clear, I'm a Michigan fan. The first year that they beat Ohio State to go to win the Big Ten, I did buy a Big Ten championship hoodie. And we all know how that happened when they played Georgia. So I don't want to jinx it. I don't think, personally, I get it. It's merchandise. People want to celebrate and everything. But as you continue to win, like all of a sudden the NFC East division champion jerseys or shirts are out of style or out of date, whatever you want to call it. I'd rather get the Super Bowl championship shirt, which I still wear my 2017 Super Bowl 52 championship T-shirt. I have. But what are your thoughts on this? I personally think and again, I've made it perfectly clear how superstitious I am with things. I think it's a jinx. And I don't want to settle for just the NFC Championship. I want the Super Bowl. So I'm going to set this one out and wait until the Super Bowl and buy the champion gear. I mean, because truthfully, I'm not going to want to wear an NFC Champions T-shirt if we lost the Super Bowl. But what are your thoughts on that? I know people have opinions one way or the other. So what are your feelings on the NFC Champions gear? Are you buying it or are you waiting for after the Super Bowl? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. All right. Speaking of NFC Championships, today we're going to go back to 2023. And on this day in 2023, it was the 2022 NFC Championship game. The Eagles beat the 49ers 31-7 to punch their ticket to Super Bowl 57, their second in 5 years. That was just 2 years ago. They had the showdown with the Chiefs out in Arizona. But in this NFC Championship game, the defense stepped up big early. Hassan Reddick sacked Brock Purdy, forcing a fumble, knocking him out of the game with an elbow injury. And then backup quarterback Rob Johnson came in, ended up having to leave with a concussion. Brock Purdy came back in, couldn't throw. Next thing you know, you had Christian McCaffrey was playing quarterback, and really at that point it was all over once Rob Johnson got knocked out. Miles Sanders ran for 2 touchdowns. Boston Scott and Jalen Hurts each added a rushing touchdown each, but it was all about the defense. 164 yards, 3 sacks, 3 turnovers, and they set up the Andy Reid Bowl 1. We're getting ready for Andy Reid Bowl 2 and redemption on February 9th. But on this day, back in 2023, the Eagles beat the 49ers 31-7 to win the NFC Championship and go to Super Bowl 57. But it's all about Super Bowl 59. Redemption. The redemption tour starts. And Andy, sayonara. Sorry about that. Finally today, continuing our forgiveness. Today we're going to forgive Bobby Clarke. And I know this is another one of those controversial ones. And again, we need to get that negativity out. We need to get the good karma flowing. And we're not forgiving Bobby Clarke as a player. Bobby Clarke as a player was one of the greatest to ever do it. Won the 2 Stanley Cups for the Flyers and all of that, accolades and everything that goes with that. Not taking anything away from Bobby Clarke, the player. However, we're going to forgive Bobby Clarke, the general manager. And there's so much to get on him from a general manager standpoint. It wasn't all negative, though. I mean, he made the playoffs every year, I think, except for 1 as the general manager. Took them to 3 Stanley Cup finals, 5 Eastern Conference final appearances. But unfortunately, they never won. And a lot of times they failed because of Bobby Clarke's mindset. He was stuck in those old school Broad Street bully ways. Constantly changing coaches. Never gave a guy to set up a program, as they like to call it, and really get into a flow. And ironically enough, a lot of those coaches that he kind of cycled through were a lot of his former teammates and guys that he was friends with and guys that were a part of the Flyers organization. He would always give up on young players a lot, I felt, too soon, and bring in these aging vets who were past their prime but had the big name. I'm thinking like Paul Coffey, Adam Oates came in here, and guys that, like I said, 10 years earlier, 5 years earlier, would have been great additions to the Flyers, but it was just kind of too little, too late. But it was all about the Broad Street bully way. He never really adapted to the new NHL. He wanted big, physical guys, and we saw it all the time as the NHL became more about speed and different things like that. That's really why they lost to the Red Wings in '97. Was they had a team that was built to just beat people up and overpower them, and Scotty Bowman of the Red Wings was like, no, we're going to finesse and do all that. And that was the biggest knock about Bobby Clarke. Had his issues finding goalies. Again, guys that were kind of maybe past their prime. He had some issues later on in his career with Ron Hextall when Ron Hextall was general manager somewhere else. But of course, with Bobby Clarke, the biggest thing we're going to forgive him for is the whole Eric Lindros fiasco. And I'll be the first to say it's not 100% on Bobby Clarke. However, I think Bobby Clarke did let his ego get in the way. I think you can make the argument that Bobby Clarke felt threatened, his legacy as the greatest Flyer ever, when Lindros started to put up those great numbers and everything. But I do think a lot of times he made things public to try to embarrass him. Now, Eric Lindros' parents, Bonnie and what was her name? Carla Lindros? No, Bonnie and Carl Lindros. Sorry. They were his agents, and they certainly played a big role in this as well. But, I mean, Bobby Clarke almost killed Eric Lindros. There's the story about Keith Jones finding him, like, passed out in a tub, and Bobby Clarke wanted him to go on a plane. The pressure would have killed him when he had a collapsed lung. But Bobby, today, to give the Eagles all the good mojo and all the good karma they need, we're going to forgive you for your tenure as Flyers general manager, forgive you for the Eric Lindros fiasco, forgive you for being stubborn and stuck in your ways and trying to make the Flyers a square peg fit into a round hole in the NHL at the time. Forgive you for bringing in guys 5 years past their prime, thinking they were going to be the difference makers. And most importantly, going to forgive you for not bringing home a Stanley Cup as a general manager. Again, not taking anything away from him as a player, but I think it's time we kind of, in the middle of our rebuild here, let go of the Bobby Clarke era as general manager, chalk it up to just experience, forgive him, move on, and get those positive vibes going. On this day in 2023, Eagles beat the 49ers 31-7 to punch their ticket to Super Bowl 57. Defense just dominated. The rushing game just controlled the clock. And truthfully, this really is what started the 49ers-Eagles rivalry. I did see that Deebo Samuel's rooting for us. I don't know how I feel about that. Deebo certainly was on a short list of people that didn't make our forgiveness list. But I guess we'll give him a bonus since he's rooting for us because he doesn't want to see Patrick Mahomes win 3 straight either. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on NFC Champion gear. Are you buying any or are you waiting for after the Super Bowl? We'll, of course, have more Eagles Super Bowl coverage as we inch slowly closer to Super Bowl 59. Let me know your thoughts on what to make of the Sixers. Are we buying or are we selling? What do we do? Do I go attempt one more chance at kicking that football, or do I just say, nope, not going to fall for it again? Oh, boy. And don't forget, time is running out to get your gear from Philly Goat in time for the Super Bowl. So get on there today. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery and take 10% off of your order. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for January 29th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.